Now, I want to move us to the next session. Like I said, we'll be speaking about innovation in renewable energy. We are in a country that has very good policies, rich in natural resources, very innovative minds. But at times, there is a disconnect between all the good things that we have and actually implementing proper innovation for the sector. That's why the next panel has people who have walked the journey, has government researchers and policy analysts who tell us this policy works for this. We have proper innovators who are opening up new fronts, new frontiers in the country. But even before that, we will be starting with a keynote address about innovation and renewable energy. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me in inviting on stage Engineer Kipkemoi Kibias. Engineer Kipkemoi is a General Manager, System Operations and Power Management at KETRACO. He will be setting the tone for the next panel, in a panel which, as I did yesterday, will be a panel for you to ask 80% of the questions and for me to ask 20% of the questions. Never mind, I'll get paid for all your questions. Asante sana, karibu sana engineer.
Thank you, Director, and it is indeed my privilege today to stand before you to present the innovation that has been put in this industry to enable us harness more and more of green energy. As mentioned, my name is Engineer Kipkemoi Kibias. I'm the General Manager in charge of System Operations and Power Management in Kenya Electricity Transmission Company. And we are the main people who ensure that these innovative technologies are able to be transmitted to where it's required by our customers, either in their homes or in industries. So a little bit about KETRACO. Kenya Electricity Transmission Company was created in 2008, and over the years, they have managed to increase the transmission network in this country from 3,200 to the current 9,500. That is a very huge leap in terms of extending the transmission grid. We are given the role of planning, designing, construction, owning, and operating the transmission grid. And as the speakers that have come today, and even our lead for this session has said, there's a lot that goes between transmission and the utilization of the renewable energy. As KETRACO, we have been in that journey, and we have been very vital in ensuring that we harness as much of renewable energy as much as the country can. As we look forward to a future where we require to have our grid to be 100% green and sustainable, we do have a myriad of challenges that require innovation to be able to provide reliable, cheap, and readily available green energy. As you all know, and it will be mentioned by most of the presenters before the end of this conference, there are two kinds of renewable energy. There's renewable energy that can be programmed, that can be used for base load, and these are the renewable energy like wind, like hydro, and geothermal. There is other kind of renewable energy that, as much as they are very clean, they are very readily available, they cannot be programmed. They have intermittencies that create big challenge to the people in the sector. So what are we doing to ensure that we have synergy between what we desire to use as the source of our energy in this country and the challenges they give. As you know, at one point, we can have wind with speeds of up to 200 meters per second. And all of a sudden, you have no wind. It's calm, and you have zero output from your generation plant. So there have been a lot that has happened in this country. There's a lot that is still required in this country to ensure that we provide stable and reliable grid for the players in the sector to be able to generate enough of this renewable energy. As we stand today, most of our renewable energy we are trying to harness are remotely located from the load centers. Today we are seated here in Olkaria, a huge complex with a huge potential, but our customers are mainly in Nairobi. Our customers are mainly in Mombasa. What is that interface that we need to put in place to ensure that what is generated fully here is utilized fully by the customers who are remotely from this area? What we require is a smart grid. We require innovation in terms of dispatch. We require innovation in terms of building the gaps between when we have more generation and when we have little or no generation. And that is where KETRACO as a company since inception has been able to do. Currently, out of the 9,500, KETRACO owns almost 80% currently of those transmission lines. Partly, the others are owned by our other colleague in the sector, that is Kenya Power. So as we look at uptake of the new technology, we in KETRACO will play a very pivotal role to ensure that 2030 meets us where we require. And in doing so, in expanding our network, in doing construction of new substations, construction of transmission line, one of the core things we look at is sustainability. We ensure that in our designs, we consider the people who we affect along our corridors of transmission line. We also consider things like communities that live along those lines. We also consider environment, including trees. As you know, our infrastructure has a conflict between us and trees. And that is why wherever there is huge rains, people say either Kenya Power, they never mention KETRACO, wameanua stima zao. And that is the relation between the rain and the trees. The rains and the trees, the electricity and the trees don't coexist very well. So as we do all this infrastructure expansion, what are we considering? We consider that we have the least impact to the environment. We also consider that I still have a lot, I don't know. I thought I had 12 minutes of the time. Okay, so I'm trying to say that we need to be sustainable in what we are doing. And currently KETRACO has really supported the sustainable move to ensure that what they do as projects are sustainable. What are some of the innovations that we have done over the years? One is that we have been able to evacuate power from green sources like Grand Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia, a 1,400 kilometers of line with minimal losses to energy. That is increasing efficiency. And this is what we did. Instead of the normal conventional high voltage AC lines, we have used high voltage DC lines, that is high voltage direct current lines, that are very minimal losses. Today, if you sit in our control center, we are importing 200 megawatts of power from Ethiopia, where they are generated through hydro, to our station here called Suswa. And we lose hardly 2% of that. We bring 200, we have 198 point something or 199 at some point. Those are some of the innovation we've done. We have also been able to connect to our neighbors through interconnectors. We currently have lines that connect us and our neighbors, Tanzania, that is the latest baby, to ensure that they are all able to also benefit from the sources of green energy within the community, that is within East Africa. Meanwhile, also, as KETRACO, we are coming up with a new National System Control Center with the capabilities to have a smart management of the grid. What we are saying is that for you to manage variabilities in wind and solar and even geothermal, we need to ensure that our grid is operated from a system operation point of view that ensures to be able to predict, forecast, and take actions in terms of dispatch according to what is required. We are also doing, within the new System Control Center, we have a lot focusing to be able to have green renewable energy forecasted by the minute, by the second, by the hour, by the day, and for weeks. So today, as we stand here, KETRACO will be the key player in ensuring that we harness as much as possible from the renewable energy sources that we plan for ourselves. You know, there is something going on in the PACA for GDC. Currently, there is no system to evacuate it. As they do it, we need to come together as the sector players, the partners, the stakeholders, to ensure that those projects are not only done immediately, but they are done sustainably. They are done in a manner that the communities are not affected in order not to negate the issue of green energy. Finally, because my coordinator here is standing, there are two ways that we are going to see our future. One is to ensure that we have adequate funding for projects that would ensure that there is reliability and capacity to evacuate power. One of the sources is what this team has just talked about, is about PPP. So as in KETRACO, we require almost 4.6 billion USD to meet all the projects that will ensure we have 100% transition to green energy by 2030. This one can be done by PPPs and also partners. As my guest has done, I want to confirm to this gathering today, but in terms of planning, in terms of design, we are putting in place a robust system that is innovative and able to handle the challenges that we face with increasing production of renewable energy. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a pleasant second day of this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kipkemoi Kibias, the General Manager, System Operations and Power Management at KETRACO. Asante sana sa. You've done more than 12 minutes, though. We, however, move, and I want to invite on stage, as I also request that our teams help us in now removing the podium from this particular stage. I want to invite Mr. Andrew Gitonga. Andrew Gitonga from Power On Exchange Limited. Karibu sana, we really appreciate you for coming in right now. Please come and take whichever seat you prefer on this side. Provided not this one. You'll be the one to do the questioning. That's okay. That's great. I also want to invite on stage Andrew Gitonga. That's Andrew Gitonga. Or do you have a twin? Mr. John Misigo. John Misigo, Kenya Expansion Specialist from Go Kabisa. Asante sana for making time, and asante sana for joining us. Karibu sana. Let's appreciate him as he makes his way to this particular stage. Anthony Mwigai, the founder, Lash Farms. Thank you very much. Looking good, sir. Asante sana and karibu. And finally, I also want to invite on stage Mr. Brian Nyaware. Brian Nyaware is an energy policy analyst at KIPRA. That is the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis. Brian, as you make your way on stage, we really appreciate you. But even before we begin, and as Brian comes here, Asante sana, let's appreciate Brian as he makes his way to join us in this great conversation. Brian, it is really an honor to be having you because you're a government researcher. You'll be telling us about innovation in this sector and what policies would make best innovations for us. Asante sana. But even as we do this, I want to do a quick video. Tafadhali, let's do that video.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm a farmer. I use chicken poop to power my farm. We collect this chicken poo every morning. We just sweep it, put it here. That's clean for the day. So now we go and feed the biogas. We are mixing this chicken poop with water just to make it flow easily in the biogas. So here is our biogas. You pour it in. This is the inlet. The outlet is on the other side. With biogas, the biggest cost is the initial outlay. But running it, I would say it's cost almost nothing. The initial outlay was approximately $900. Biogas flows through that pipe, comes into these gadgets to remove any sulfurs and those bad smells. This is now hot water. This biogas, we heat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will not play the entire video, but that is just part of the innovation that is in renewable energy. That gentleman there is with us here, Anthony Asante Sana. Now, even before, let's appreciate Anthony. Even before we get to my questioning, I want to give this time to you, Andrew, and to John, because before we question about innovation in renewable energy, I would want you to introduce yourself and what you do to the audiences here. Those are people who are today, for the very first time, meeting Go Kabisa, and the people who are for the very first time meeting Power On Exchange Limited. We'll start with you, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Gitonga. I'm the founder of Power On Exchange, or better known as Power On X. It is a startup that is designed to take advantage of the Energy Act of 2024, technically taking advantage of open access.
Please have your mic.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And basically thank you very much. Taking advantage of open access and what open access means to us as a country and as a market. So an exchange is a software platform that is designed to bring a buyer and a seller in a regulated environment. In this particular case, the products that are going to be on sale are going to be electricity, renewable electricity, and carbon credits, renewable energy certificates. So that's what Power Next is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go Kabisa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Fingo, Kenya Expansion Specialist at Go Kabisa. Apologies, I have a bit of a cold. So what does Go Kabisa do? We play in the whole value chain for e-mobility. We sell fully built electric vehicles, we put up charging infrastructure, and we also do the maintenance of those vehicles. We have been in Rwanda for the past 3 years, and we're currently coming into the Kenyan market. About 4 or 5 months. Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Anthony, I'll not ask for your introduction because that video has done that, and as well as Brian, but I'll get straight to our questioning. I earlier said that we have in the renewable energy sector as a country, there's what I call a disconnect, because very progressive policies we have on paper, abundant natural resources, and innovative grassroots solutions like Go Kabisa, like Power On, and large farms. However, implementation remains very fragmented. Very few people are able to do what your organizations are doing. I want to ask this. Given that we often see brilliant innovations fail, not because of technology, but because of misaligned incentives between policy, market realities, and user needs, what is the most critical gap between Kenya's renewable energy policies and actual implementation that each of your sectors, I'll start with the three of you, that each of your sectors is grappling with And what would you need to change systemically for your specific solutions to achieve the scale that the country actually needs? Start with you, sir.
Thank you very much for that question. When we look at Power on X, it is dependent on two specific policies. The first policy is open access, which is still within EPRA as we speak. I think it will come in online 2026. And the second one, and which is the reason why I'm here, is to be able now to look at renewable energy certificates, or energy certificates, RECs, more specifically KenGen RECs, that are still domiciled or that's still pending at EPRA. So it is a policy issue. I think there was a question yesterday about, by I think Zainab, I was talking about, or asked if there was one government entity, which one would you get rid of? I don't know if you can remember that. However, the panelists ended up mentioning that it is really not about giving up or removing an entity or a government department. It's about speed. It is about increasing efficiency and doing things in a more urgent fashion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I come to you, John, so that we proceed in that balanced way. First, responding to that particular question, and then as you add to that question, tell me, e-mobility, which is what you're dealing with, is still emerging in the country. What innovative financing and infrastructure models is Go Kabisa implementing to accelerate the transition to e-mobility? Do the two questions at once. I would remind you, you remember what my first question was?
Yes.
Great,
yes,
proceed.
Fantastic. I don't know, how many people here have seen the truck, the electric truck that we have outside? Did you guys notice the number plate, by any chance? No, that's the double cab pickup, but we have the electric truck. Looks like a canter. Okay, the number plate, it's actually registered in Rwanda. Now this is very important. If we were to buy a right-hand drive truck and bring it into the country, the taxes alone that we'd actually pay could buy 3 small cars in Rwanda. So I'll not continue from there. That is very obvious. I think we have a bit of a disconnect in terms of, as a country, where it is that we want to go and our policies. If we say that we want to be the best at e-mobility, which in certain places in terms of Africa consider us to be, then we really should push the policies that actually give us the opportunity to be able to do that. Ethiopia have said that they banned ICE importations. Rwanda, there are no taxes. So for me, let our policies match our ambitions. Yeah.
Let our policies match our ambitions. Anthony, you are already implementing this at your farm level, at large farms. You want to tell us your experience, especially about innovation and policies. I know perhaps Go Kabisa has gone a large scale as compared to large farms, but perhaps tell us your experience.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And let me say this. For small-scale innovations, the biggest challenge is scalability. Because we normally talk of, EVs, grids, and all that, and we forget the small innovations on the ground. I think at the end of the day, these projects are not, they're marked unbankable. So I think we need to reimagine what bankable is, because the most transformative innovations start with the very basic things, implementation of an idea and a dream. So I see most small-scale innovations do not get to that level of being financed and scaling. So scaling is a major challenge. Yeah.
Scaling is a major challenge. And as I come to you, Brian, I'll talk about policy and what you're involved in terms of policy analysis and research. Again, connected to what Go Kabisa says. The truck is a very practical example. The truck we are having here in Kenya, the price at which they would have the same in Kenya would do 3 trucks in Rwanda. As a policy analyst who advises government on policies, what do you say about this very real-life example that we are sitting on the stage today?
Thank you very much. For those who don't know, I represent Kipra. Kipra is a government entity, and we advise government through research and analysis. And our goal is to contribute towards national long-term goals. So I think responding to the 2 parts of the questions that have been asked, starting off with policy versus ambition. So one, I think it's important to note that policy is all-inclusive, and a good policy aims to meet national social economic goals as well as sustainable development. I do recognize and acknowledge what you've said in terms of the track being 3 times higher. But then as government, sometimes when we do advise government, there's also the other aspect of already existing industries, right? So yes, we aim, I think, as you know, there are already efforts to implement e-mobility policies, regulations, and laws. But then there's also the other aspect of it where we have other vehicles or other industries that may be affected. So I think we are working on it, but then it will take a while. But I also acknowledge, yes, I think also policies are all inclusive, not to favor e-mobility, but then we are moving towards less emissions in the transport sector. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe I understand that. Let me just give you some statistics in terms of where the industry is right now. E-mobility actually does about 2 million kilowatt hours per month of energy. And this is the figure that Kenya Power has. I think that it's not inclusive because there are other people who charge at home, etc., etc. The whole conference, what we've heard about is really trying to get demand. And this is something that aligns with, in terms of the whole government policy. This is something that is there. It's actually happening right now. If you look at, matatus. Right now, inter-county travel, a lot of the circles are looking at e-mobility as something very viable. So very soon you'll be able to see some 14-seaters electric buses, electric matatus plying. This works for everyone. Okay, of course I'm biased, but yeah.
But at the risk of turning this into a dialogue between Go Kabisa and Kipra, let me take this conversation forward, and I'll come to you and I'll tell you, looking at current government policies and market trends, you are in the sector. We all are aiming towards 100% clean energy and all this. Which innovative renewable energy solutions would you say would work, and which one would you predict would be the fastest to mainstream its adoption by 2030? And I'm inviting your thoughts, even as you bring in your experience in the sector, as you give us your input.
Actually, let me hark back a little bit to a question that was asked a little bit earlier by one of the members of the audience about how to monetize RECs and how you can use carbon offsets to be able to finance projects. Well, that's the reason why an exchange is very important. Because in this, particularly when you're talking about KenGen, when KenGen RECs come into play, the first thing that I'd like to see is KenGen RECs be on the exchange. Why? Because we have partnered with a company out of London, UK, that is a software platform designer and software platform provider rather, that has about 3,600 energy traders behind it. So that gives a very good ability to be able to tap into the European Union market, the North American market, the Asian market, and Australia. That's number one. Number two, how are you able to monetize it? If, for example, the RECs are monetized in an exchange on a global scale, you'll have revenues flowing back into Kenya, right? Now imagine this by 2030. If every single independent power producer, and let me go ahead and preface this by saying that it is very enviable, it's fantastic that the East African Power Pool has come together. Different backgrounds, so on and so forth. Why can't we do that in Kenya today in terms of innovation? For example, by 2030, if we can be able to get all the green independent power producers, pull them together and place them on the exchange so that Kenya becomes the first nation in a Chama sort of way that can be able now to monetize and sell its RECs in the global market. And there's so many other benefits that that can come out of that in terms of alternative financing. One thing right off the bat that can come out of my head is setting up a special purpose vehicle for all the independent power producers that come together and put their RECs on the market, on the exchange rather. That special purpose vehicle can then be listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What does that do? It then is in a position to raise the kind of capital that smallholder or small innovators can be able to take advantage of. So in other words, let's keep it local. If we are doing the generation local, if we are selling the RECs local, we might as well go ahead and start financing, using the local capital markets infrastructure to be able to use it to start financing, like what the gentleman was talking about, financing small projects within the counties.
You've spoken about energy trading, and that was part of my next questions in terms of making renewable energy accessible to ordinary Kenyans and how energy trading then would facilitate this.
Again, when it comes now to consolidating the RECs and then ensuring that special purpose vehicle, for example, can go to the Securities Exchange, raise the kind of capital that can be able to impact downstream entrepreneurs, is one way of doing it.
You want to chime in?
Yeah. So today we are talking of renewable energy, and most of the speakers here, we are referring to hydro, geothermal, and wind. But I think there's a part that we are forgetting, and is very basic, which also contributes to food security and dignity. Look at bio-waste. You know, for example, in Kenya, we produce about 6 million metric tons of biodegradable waste per year. And the speaker who was here, the keynote speaker, just said, energy mostly is not consumed where it's produced. And all these biodegradable waste is in our cities, where we have a lot of demand for energy. So if we could also include and maybe look at our policies so that we can promote, biodegradable waste, energy from biodegradable waste. And, by doing that, we are not only looking at, producing energy, but if you watched the video up to the end, you'll see by the end of the day, we are turning waste to energy and energy to opportunity by turning that energy to electric energy and charging a vehicle. So look at something else like motorbikes. Kenya has about 1.5 million motorbikes, and the CO2 emissions. But we cannot go electric, especially in the rural areas, because even doing the infrastructure for, to take electricity there is difficult. But we could have microgrids in rural areas. Every part in Kenya has a market. We produce a lot of waste. If we could turn these waste to energy and maybe even have charging points for motor vehicles. Yeah.
Antonio, you're speaking about, every time I hear someone says, if we could, it means we are not yet there. We need to get there to implement. And as a policy analyst and researcher, you may have identified the gap of what do we need to do to support the conversion of waste, which at most times is an eyesore to benefit us, like what Anthony has done. And I'll be coming to you to give us your personal experience of how today, by the way, he is powering his vehicle using biogas, chicken poop. Yeah? So as a policy analyst and researcher, how do we move from what Anthony is saying, if we could, to actually saying we are doing it today?
I think there was an earlier speaker who did mention that there are policies that enable actions mentioned here. Giving an example of the latest, the Beta Agenda, which is the current development plan for the government. It does include the government supporting e-mobility by deploying infrastructure throughout the country. We have energy sector policies, plans. We have energy sector policies like the last least cost power development plan that does talk about bio. So I think there is an opportunity for more so collaboration, those in the room and outside the room, collaboration between energy sector players to actualize some of the challenges we are having. Giving an example of, I'd say, aspirator countries. For example, we have cities in the US, like Los Angeles, that are collaborating with the private sector. This year, the city of Los Angeles did sign a 25 PPA agreement with a private sector developer to purchase power for 25 years that will power 200 homes. The program is under an innovative project called Solar Plus Storage. This again talks to the earlier speaker talking about the differences between renewable energy, which connects the two. So he has mentioned mini grids in rural areas. Bringing that case study back home, there is an opportunity for county governments and other stakeholders to work together with the private sector, other government entities to actualize some of these challenges, some of these goals we are having as a government, but also address the existing challenges. So working more so together than in silos. Yeah.
And that therein lies what I've identified. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll realize, like I said, there is a disconnect. There are policies, then there is those who are expected to implement these policies, and there appears to be a disconnect. Can we now turn these ideas into realities from this particular platform, because this is what the Sustainable Energy Conference aims to achieve? Msiko, you've spoken, I'll be coming to you, but listening to a small scale, should I say, innovator in renewable energy and a policy expert who advises government on policy, all of them say their sides are good. If we could implement this, the policy agency says we already have enough policies to make this. How do we turn our ideas into reality in this room? Because I'll be opening the floor to also see from here, will we have achieved practical, tangible changes from this particular panel?
I really do think so. For example, I'm not exactly sure about there. So let me use my personal experience, okay? So I came here to talk to Kenjan. And the reason why I came to talk to Kenjan is because I'm really, really interested in the renewable energy certificates and the ability to be able to partner with them in whatever way, shape, or form, to be able now to say that the conference has created a partnership. Step one, what will that do? That will, in a sense, hopefully hasten the passing of, or the allowance of EPRA to be able to say, these two companies have already partnered together. It is us who are now stalling. How can we be able to now hasten this story so that by the first quarter or the second quarter of next year, we're looking at becoming operational in the ideas that we're achieving today. So fundamentally having a partnership in my particular case, and then we're approaching EPRA and saying, hey, every day we waste is every day that we're losing revenue in the global markets. So a partnership like today is something that is actually...
Have you found the partnership? Because I said we are turning these ideas into realities right here. Have you found the partnership yet?
I was hoping the MD would be here. potential partnerships. Kenjan? Kibet?
as we get Kibet to help us in this, perhaps connecting potential partnerships, let's speak to you, Msigo, toward the gaps that are, coming up here and turning ideas into realities using this panel. We are speaking about innovation in renewable energy, and there is a gap you may have identified, a gap which you want to leave here solved, and which you can do an instant connection with an industry player within this room.
Am I allowed to say buy my cars?
We will charge you for that.
No, but to be honest, this is a new technology, and what we're saying now is that this conference has given us the platform by which people actually are seeing the technology. They're asking questions, they're getting their questions answered. Out of this, we hope that we'll be able to give a couple of the companies test drives. If I say that your fuel costs or your energy costs can be reduced by 70%, is it true? I don't want that to be just from me, but I actually want people to come, test out the vehicle, then tell us. Then now from there, we can actually be able to discuss so that these innovations, these new technologies can then be embraced.
You're actually in charge of expansion into the Kenyan market. Tell me, for how long have you been here?
5 months.
For 5 months now. What is the uptake?
So far we've sold 3 cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you say are the challenges to adoption of EV vehicles, not necessarily from you, but adoption of EV vehicles from Kenyans?
Awareness. Awareness is something that we take it for granted sometimes. We take it for granted that you've seen these vehicles, you know that they're there, but even when we're coming up, policemen stopping you, asking you. They're not stopping you because there's a problem with the vehicle. Explain to us how this thing works. So awareness for me is one of the biggest barriers that we have. Mm-hmm. And that, ways that we can actually bridge that is, as Kenton have done, called us and given us an opportunity. NTV right now speaking to millions of people, just to tell them about EVs, just to demystify it a bit. Yeah.
All right, Anthony, let's speak to your experience. And many Kenyans still have very, very high production costs in their farms. Production costs which from the stories that I've watched, you've been able to reduce to up to 50% in your particular farm. What inspired you to get here? And tell us the challenges. Because I believe if a census was done, you'd be amongst the very few Kenyans who so far have fully implemented renewable energy.
Yeah, another speaker talked about reasons for innovation being, looking passion, could be, but mine really was, we were producing a lot of waste, and then we realized that our neighbors are actually complaining because, that waste, when you just leave it, decomposition and all that. And then we were looking for a solution on what to do with the waste. And that's when we realized, you just go to Google and we came across biogas and all that. And then, we looked at, more uses of the biogas. And that's when we went ahead actually and even bought an electric car. So most farmers or people down there, maybe I'm able to finance that biogas, that innovation, that, heating element, that conversion of a generator. But most farmers cannot access these. And you said it well, 30 to 50% of costs will normally go to either fertilizer or energy in a farm. So if we could be looking at, through a different lens and see when we are financing this farmer or this, household, how much are they going to save? And that savings comes to, to empower this farmer. And that's not what we are looking at. That's the main challenge because,
right. Yeah. I want to invite all of us to think about this before we take some questions from the audience. our country and our neighbors are trying to, implement and fully implement the feed-in tariff system, where innovators would create power or energy, then benefit from the feed-in tariff system. Would you say there are bottlenecks to achieving this? Where I'm seeing some modern technology, including some biface solar panels that are coming up. And Anthony, perhaps to start with you, how would fully optimizing the feed-in tariff system then enhance innovation in renewable energy?
To be honest, let me be honest. I'm not too sure about how I can answer that question. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so maybe I can just speak to it a bit. When you look at electric vehicles, there's a technology called vehicle to grid, which then means that the battery in the vehicle can actually transfer energy from the battery into the grid. I'm not an expert on this, but there are also things called ancillary services, I believe. Those are services that just help to be able to stabilize the grid. In the future, we look at a scenario maybe whereby the charging stations that we've put up actually offer this service to the grid. And in my mind, what I think a framework that would actually work under would be the feed-in tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perhaps anyone in the audience who can help us respond to this, even as I come to you, Brian, in terms of, this is about policy, this is about potential policy implementation. Feed-in tariff system is something already practiced and many would say benefits large-scale producers. However, small-scale producers like Anthony, or those who are able to actually feed in back into the system, may want to know, how do we break down this to me being of use to our joint national objective of clean energy by 2030? Is it something that is achievable?
Yes. So I think, as you already know, our grid or our supply is already 80% renewable. It is true that the feed-in tariffs are relating or referring to the feed-in tariff policy of 2012, if I'm not wrong, does speak or does relate to large-scale producers. But then there are other alternative policies and regulations that do kind of support small-scale producers. We have things to do with renewable auctions, which is already in place. We have conversations around. Yes, we have net metering that already EPRA and maybe other government agencies and stakeholders are having conversations about. I think regulations are already being developed. So I think more so when it comes to small-scale producers, I think net metering and wheeling are alternative solutions to small-scale producers.
All right. I think it's time to take questions from the audience and also input in case there are. Wawero will help me to move the microphone around. Any question? Let's start with two on innovation in renewable energy. Let's go to that. And I really want to, because in the first set of questions in your panel, we spoke to a gentleman. Right now, let me hear from ladies, then one gentleman. So there are two ladies there, then a gentleman. Yes, right behind.
I've had a special request.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Joy Masindi. I'm the chairman, Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Let me just speak to her. I've just spoken to about the net metering and about the innovators feeding back into the grid. I think the policies are there. The will is there. The technology is there. It's just the practical science of it all that is currently lacking. So, for example, our grid right now is very constrained, so to speak. The highways are full. And so anybody who wants to feed into the grid right now creates real problems for us, because there is the issue of trying to balance the entire grid and make sure that the demand matches the supply at any given time. Now, let me just give you a small incident. Like the other day, there was a scheduled blackout in the Kilimani area. And so the power goes off, we've given notice. But somebody is producing somewhere their own power, and when the power went off, their power fed back into the grid, electrocuted 2 of our guys. One survived, one died. Now, this is just the practicalities of if there's random production that is not properly managed, then it can become a problem. So my big encouragement when we are all sitting here together is we need to move this conversation forward, because it's like the market is going faster than the regulators and the off-takers, than all these other people. And so we have to get ourselves to a place where we develop in tandem, we work together. So, for example, the issue about prosumers, when I listen to Anthony's story and to your story, the guys who are doing charging piles should be able to feed back into the grid. I should be able to give them an offset and tell them, you know what, I supplied you X power, you supplied me this power, that's where we're offsetting, there's these wheeling charges, I give you a credit. Same thing with the small producers. The solar panel on top of your roof should be able to do that for you. But the challenge is to us who are implementing this to keep in step with what is going forward. Because I think you had the president the other day talking about how we need 10 giga into our economy right now, is because we have 3 giga in the grid. We've got about 700 megawatts installed in various captive incidences. But if you talk to the people who market and who sell renewable products, they have sold products worth 10 giga of power, meaning it's out there somewhere. So demand exists. Kenyans are already going forward. They're producing their own power. We have to figure out how we are expanding our grid, and we are getting our act together so that we can get any extras.
All right. And based on your position, I'm sure this is something would want to further discuss and further give time to, especially the cases you're speaking about of demand being there, and what we need to figure out is how to, harmonize the working together between you and the innovators. But also, let me get to 2 questions. There was a lady there, Waweru.
Okay, if we can keep the way we set the pace on the first panel.
Straight to the question.
Tight and bright.
Thank you so much. I don't have a question. My name is Dr. Jen Bogo from KenGen, and I work under the department that deals with carbon assets development. So I want to respond to the gentleman who's looking for partnerships in renewable energy certificates. As KenGen, we've also been looking at this avenue to register our facilities, but currently the mandate lies with EPRA. EPRA is mandated to inspect our facilities, issue the renewable energy certificates, as well as certify that these certificates are originating from Kenya. We have written to EPRA enough times. I think they are still doing the modalities of handling this. We are also on the same boat with you, but we are welcome to partnerships. We can set up engagements to see how we can partner with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. My name is Osawa Bernard, the chairperson of the Kepsa Energy Sector Board. So one of the solutions to them, there is an association of microgrid operators, AMDA. You can check them out and you can get support from them. That's one. 2, I think we also have an issue with, it's a brilliant idea to have the mini grids or the microgrids. And his solution has come from a problem, a waste problem becoming a solution, and he has the resources. There may be people who have the idea to generate power and can commercially get waste from others. But the moment they build a grid, there's that interface between KPLC and the existing sites. So if it is a new site, that might be easier, but there's a licensing issue, and in stakeholder engagement, we've always had issues where KPLC pushes back really strongly. I think, as the chair said, we need to be more practical and pragmatic and look at how do we interface this, because we need to look at the total picture, not they are taking from us and they're getting it. It's what are we putting into the ecosystem? What are we putting into Kenya? I think that's a conversation that should be had. The ministry, I hope they're here, the regulator, but there are always issues, and you've seen that even in off-grid system. Licensing them takes quite a while.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Perhaps the last question, Waweru. And I think most of these things we are getting right now are responses and thoughts from people. And since I'm seeing KPLC is here, EPRA is here, sector players are here, this is a conversation we can have later when we go on tea break. How many innovators do we have in this sector, in this room right now? I'm sure I would want to hear from innovators and what it is that they face in terms of fully optimizing their innovation. All right.
All right, my name's Jane. I think I'm a politician because I'm the MCA for the neighboring ward. And I was really struck by the conversation we are having. And when I look at the people we represent, I think they are not represented here because even if they are on TV, the English is too much so that we are able to touch them on the ground.
All right.
And especially on trying to explain. When I look at the cameras we have, I'm seeing myself. But I thought the Rwanda man should have just shown us because we are more visual. You know, as people we like seeing. A simple brochure put on the table might help. So I was wondering whether this particular program with Lash Anthony can be able to touch our people at the ground. We've given them incubators, we've given them generators, they are producing chicken, but I thought maybe you'd have given us a more elaborate analysis of how we can be able to put this into practice so that when we go to the ground, we can be able to help the people we are representing. Otherwise, it is interesting and I love it the more.
Thank you. Make sure to watch NTV. We will have Anthony featured in a program called Kilimo Almasi. Make sure to keep it NTV. We will also make sure at NTV and through our platforms at Nation Media Group to feature and highlight what Go Kabisa does, as well as what Anthony and his organization is doing. Gentlemen, you want to respond to the thoughts that came out. Not really questions, but thoughts from the different people. 30 seconds each so that we wind up. Let's start with you, sir.
I've seen a lot of nods, a lot of heads nodding. So that's a good sign. Thank you.
All right. John?
Yeah, for me, really, I would give the audience with this. The amount of electricity that KPLC sells, if you're to compare it and put a ratio to the amount of fuel that we actually import as a country, is in the ratio of 1:3. What happens to our country if we just start reducing this ratio? What happens to Ketraco, Kengen, with the really big and massive potential for generating these kind of projects? Yeah, for me, we really need to walk the talk and actually stimulate demand.
Walk the talk and stimulate demand. Anthony?
Yeah, I think we need to know that the future of renewable energy is not just in boardrooms and kilowatts. We need to go down to those people there by helping somebody set up a biogas unit. They'll use the fertilizer, that comes from it to grow their food. We are giving dignity to these people. So we need to look at it differently so that we support regenerative agricultural systems.
Okay, and finally, Brian.
Yeah, I think innovations do have a great potential to help Kenya and the world transition faster. When you're talking about challenges such as accessibility, affordability, acceptance and availability of electricity, and again relating it to innovations such as product innovation, process innovations that some have mentioned in the stage, I think there is a huge opportunity that we can leverage on when it comes to collaborations. Even from the floor, we hear, for example, the chair talking about producers collaborating with the company. We hear somebody from Kengen talking about collaboration with EPRA. We hear the MCA talking about potential collaborations with people on the floor. So the policies are there. They may not be perfect, but then they are there. So the idea or the goal or hope would be that we collaborate more. Speaking to the last comment, I really would have hoped to to speak in Swahili. Uhasa idea kuongeza innovations. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Our panelists, Brian Nyaware, an energy policy analyst at Kipra. We've also had with us Andrew Gitonga, Power On Exchange Limited, John Msigo from Kenya Expansion Specialist, who is a Kenya Expansion Specialist at Go Kabisa, and Anthony Mugai, founder Lash Farms. I really request you to be front and center, as Wawero would say, for a quick photo session. Then we will be getting into the next session, and this next session, which we all agreed to get into, will be about from ambition to action, leveraging hydrogen for green growth in Kenya. It will be facilitated by the Global Green Growth Institute, GGI, where our photographers to quickly take us through this photo session. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that we have everything. We have the policies. We have brilliant innovative ideas. We also have very good natural resources. As I said in my opening speech, it is all about now, it is all about tying the loose ends to make sure there is proper benefit and proper facilitation to ensure that we meet our optimal potential. I will be inviting Wawero Njoroge on stage right now to prepare us for the last session of the morning. Asanteni sana, we really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of this. Tunashukuru.